Moore's Order Roundtable. My name is Taj Tarik Bey. We're dealing with some issues dealing with protecting the Moorish birthright and fundamental principles on how you're going to file a suit. We'll discuss many matters and points of interest and points of necessary information that some of you already know, and some points of information that some of you may not have known, but they're all vital in point. Then we're going to give you some history. We're going to give you some jurisprudence under which law comes, and give you some points of self-responsibility relative to these matters for your personal self, as well as for the nation at large and your children. And so these matters that we're going to be discussing will be inclusive or relative to the point of protecting your Moorish birthright. And I recognize that a lot of people have concepts, pro and con, concerning the Moorish movement, many of them correct and positive, and many of them incorrect and misleading. So one of the things that we want to do is clear up concepts about a lot of issues. And I also want to apologize to everyone here because there was some misinformation that went out earlier that the meeting was canceled, which you see a lot of people from all over who were coming were under the impression that we had canceled. We did not. All right? So the place would have been packed. But it is just as well, you just take the information back with you in your territories and areas. After we discuss these matters, we'll have a question and answer session. I would also suggest that if you have paper and pen, take notes. Because some things you'll understand, some things you'll probably have questions on, but like anything else, everything can't be taught like at a meeting necessarily. It's not designed that way. These meetings are designed to inspire you to be self-responsible, to do some research, to do some cross-reference, and to free your mind from misconcepts or things that you may have thought were. And we're going to give you some keys of information to expose the fact that a lot of your concepts are wrong. We're not challenging your concepts. We're giving you certain information to free your own mind so you can recognize it for yourself. The other deal is that we want everybody to understand that the Moorish Divine National Movement is your movement. It's not something that we're talking about trying to get you interested in. What we're trying to make you see for yourself is that it already belongs to you. And because of misinformation over the decades, most people have a misconcept of this movement because so much effort was made or put forth to suppress it or to create misunderstanding. Also, when people get the information or get certain concepts of the information, they don't know how to use it. So we're going to work in a lot of those areas. And when you feel there's something that you don't understand, come up here. Don't worry about what the question is. You ask it. Because if you don't ask questions, guess what? Nothing gets solved. And remember this. The only reason why some of these problems exist economically, socially, politically, and spiritually is because sorcerers have been at work. If you would tell people from the door that they've been under influence of sorcerers, they think you're talking Star Wars or some kind of Harry Potter thing. But that's the real fact. And so most of the times you don't come to the people and come from that angle because you know they can't handle it. They get spooked up. They think you're trying to sell them some kind of religion, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, they don't believe that that's in effect. Well, it is in effect. That's how you became known as Negroes and Africans. We're going to knock off those things in a minute, too. So before we get into some points, I want to make these very important points and issues. The heart of what we're talking about tonight is protecting the Moorish birthrights and the fundamental principles of suits. What a suit is, how you should proceed in it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I want you to take notes, because everything in those points we won't be able to go over again, but we'll go over the important parts, so get that in your heads. In the future, others will be here on a regular basis who will be teaching points of protecting your birthrights. And over a period of time, some of the things we're going to put in the paper. As a matter of fact, the editor-in-chief, Brother Abdullah, was suggesting to me to do with that before. It was just that we have so much stuff to deal with, so much stuff to put out, back stuff, that we can't do it all in one time, but we intend to get as much out as we can We're also going to reissue the Moorish civil letter, which we had used before, and because we were so tied up with other issues, we didn't have time to work on the paper and that, but we're going to put it out because we have to get that information out because there's so few people that are willing to, how do you say, put their neck on the line and tell it like it is, because so many people are bought off already and compromised. And we also want to influence you, for the sake of the children and the nation, to have the courage to speak some of those truths along the same line, because that's what's going to get you out of this mess. Unless we're going to be willing to deal with truth, we're not getting out of this mess. Now I want to make one issue, one point, and I'm going to bring it to a point of law, jurisprudence, and share with you this, and you think on it, and if anyone has any questions, ask or talk about it later. Now, Noble Drew Ali, Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, established the Moorish Divine and National Movement in North America, really around 1911, 1912, and officially active 1913. A lot of preliminary work was going on before the movement was initially, or what you call officially, established. So whereas people look at it as the movement starting in 1913, that's the official date of what you say official activity. But the business was going on for quite some time. One of the things I want you to pay attention to, and we're not going to go over all those points today, but I want you to look into for yourself, because that's not the subject matter, but I want to throw this out there. Look at the timeline. When Drew Ali established the Moorish Divine National Movement in 1913, all right, on the other side of the government, they met and they established the Internal Revenue Service. Yes, Federal Reserve System. Now, when Drew Ali was doing his work and about to establish this movement officially, Woodrow Wilson had got his degree at Johns Hopkins University, his PhD. And he was being, at that time, courted for the election to the presidency of the United States Republic. Now, during the Wilson administration, to counter Noble Drew Ali, and you must really understand this so you can understand a lot of activities that are going on with a lot of different groups. The point of this mission is the enforcement of our Constitution. Most people's misunderstanding is thinking that the Constitution for the Republic, United States, North America, was established by the European sons or the knights. Not true. The number is 35 and 20. 35 Moors, 20 European sons, in agreement to stop centuries and centuries of wars between the Moors and the Roman nations. And when we say the Roman nations means the European nations collectively, not just Rome the city. Now, we've had wars since the Punic Wars on up to the Battle of the Crusades, right on up to the Battle of Poitiers near Tours, France, right on up to the French Revolution and the North American, which they say the American Revolution, but it's North American Revolution. They're all tied together. If you don't know that now. It is the longest revolution in the world. You fell, that's how you became niggers. That's where your slavery really came from. Fact is, that part of history is not taught to separate you from your authority, your self-authority, the empire of the world, and particularly the Moroccan Empire in which you're standing right now. Now, how did the Moors become known as Africans? We are not Africans, and we're not African Americans. Scipio Africanus, a Roman general, was fighting the Barker Bey family, which you know as Hannibal, Hasdrubal, etc. When they defeated him, he poisoned himself rather than give up, by the way. Anyway, when they defeated them, he put his name on the northwest coast of Kibalan, or Tameri. Tameri, that's called Africa today. Do you understand? Not the continent. near Tunis, Algiers,